Hi, today we will learn how to import datasets in Python. Here we will just understand what is importing a dataset. So here we will have our dataset files kept at either at your local computer or at some remote location like cloud or at some data centers. So to bring that files data into your notebook, we use this importing. So common formats for these files are CSV, Excel, JSON and SQL. So after importing libraries, the first step in data science workflow is importing a dataset. So we will understand how to import dataset. Before this, we will understand first these are the common formats used for dataset files. First is CSV, that is comma separated values. For simple files, this format is used, or Excel files are used when data is human readable. JSON is JavaScript object notation, which is good for hierarchical or API data. And SQL, which is structured query language for large data sets. This is really good to use this SQL files. This is the basic syntax to import the dataset. So here I'm importing pandas library first, and then I'm using read underscore CSV function from pandas library to import our dataset. Right now I'm using .csv file to show you the syntax. So file name, you can change your particular file name here, and we are reading this dataset and storing in a data frame named as df here. So in our example, later in our notebook, we will see different files other than CSV also. Going ahead, now while importing the datasets, sometimes we can have some hurdles while importing dataset. Suppose in your dataset there are no any headers, then it will be very difficult to understand what are these values. So if you know what are these header means the column names actually. So if you know by going in the dataset what are the names of columns or header names, then you can use this header equal to none and by naming these values actually. Okay. So similarly, sometimes the encoding in your dataset is not proper English characters. So if different encoding is there, then we can use encoding parameter in this read underscore CSV. Similarly, if you have any issues regarding separators or delimiters, then we can use separator. So we will go through all this in a demo. So after importing, to understand your data set, you can use these commands head, shape, columns, info and describe to get idea about your data set. So here dataset.head shows first few rows, shape shows dimensions of your dataset, df.column means it shows column names, info shows what are the data types and nulls, and describe shows the statistical summary of your dataset. I will show you all this practically in our Jupyter notebook. Now this is our Jupyter notebook. Now here I am using these four different data sets, CSV, Excel, JSON and SQL databases, and I will show you in demo how to import these database files. Currently I have stored all these files on my computer locally, so I am using directly from my computer only. So here For CSV file, first we will import a CSV file from pandas. We will read that file and we will assign to data. Here I am doing by giving you example. Here first I am importing the library pandas, then this is my database dataset sample underscore data.csv. So to read this CSV file I am using read underscore CSV from pandas. Now this whatever read from the CSV file will be stored in data, and this data frame I am printing by using head. Now head prints first 5 rows of that data set. If you enter any number here, then that number of rows it prints actually. So right now I will show you CSV file importing. So when I run this code, it is reading this file read underscore CSV and it is assigning and it will print by this. So now if you see here, this is my CSV file. Here name, age and city are the headers and these are the rows. So going ahead, similarly for Excel file, the difference is only instead of read underscore CSV we will use read underscore Excel. There is no much difference here. So I'll run this command directly. Now I'm using different data set, that is sample underscore data dot xlsx, which is in Excel format. So if I run this code, for time being I have kept similar content for all data sets. So if you see here, these are the headers, these are the rows, and this is our data set. Similarly for JSON file, I am reading by this read underscore JSON. So when I run this code, this is read. We are importing our data set into our notebook. While importing SQL database, here I am importing SQLite and I am using that SQLite 3 dot connect to connect to that SQL database first. After establishing connection, then I am reading by read underscore SQL, and if you know little bit about SQL queries, I am writing one SQL query here. So this query, if you see here, this is the SQL query, okay, and I am reading it by read underscore SQL. So now after reading our SQL file, it is stored in data underscore SQL and I am printing it by dot head actually. Now this is the data set what we read from .sql file. Now what we saw just now, we read underscore CSV and we read CSV file. We used read underscore Excel to read XLSX file. Read underscore JSON for .json file, and we established connection with SQL database first and then used read underscore SQL to read or to import our SQL dataset. Now every time after importing your dataset, you should use these functions like these to know or to understand your dataset properly, so that you can use that dataset properly ahead. If you see here, data is my dataset imported. Here I have imported initially, which is CSV dataset. So now when I'm printing it by dot head, it prints first few rows. So if you don't add any number here in this, then it prints first 5 rows. If you add, now it has only 3 rows, it prints all the 3 rows. If I add only 2 here, it will print only 2 rows only. So right now I'm deleting it back. Now this is our dataset. So we can use head function, then dot shape function shows us the dimension of our dataset. So if I run this command, it has, this is number of rows and this is number of columns. We have 3 rows and 3 columns. Now if we want to know the column names, usually our datasets will be big. There are so many columns, like 250, 300 columns. So that time, if we want to know what are the column names, we can use these commands which prints column names. Now data.info shows the structure summary for this dataset. So if you see here, it shows how many rows are there, then column names, then the types of columns, then in the end it shows memory usage also. Going ahead, dot describe, this function shows the statistical summary of our dataset. So if you see here, the count, then mean of that dataset, then standard deviation, minimum, maximum, and these are the percentiles. So here, now you have to keep some things in mind, that while importing this dataset, you have to make sure the all paths are correct, because here while importing our datasets, we have kept all datasets in our same path where our Python notebook is present. So this is working properly. If you are keeping your dataset at some other location, then you have to take care of your path properly. Then next is, you have to use correct function for particular file format. Then some additional things for Excel SX file and SQL file, that you have to install all this Open Excel and then SQLite. Now I am giving you small quiz questions. So first question is how to import JSON file, which one of the option we use to import JSON file. This is very easy question. Now next question is that if we run this code cell, some junk values are coming. So you can press pause the video and answer these questions in comment section. This is the summary. Now what we learned, that for CSV file we use read underscore CSV, for Excel file we used read underscore Excel, for JSON we used read underscore JSON, and for SQL we established connection to the SQL database first and then used read underscore SQL to import that dataset. These are the takeaways from this video, that before importing you should know the data format of the dataset, then you should choose proper function to import the dataset. After importing your dataset, you have to explore the dataset by head, describe, info, dot shape functions to know your dataset properly. After this importing datasets, thank you.